It's time for the weekly Cover Price Top 10 list, and I think it's also time for me to catch up on the latest season of Invincible. We'll take a look at the top 10 books up next on this video from Bronzeville Comics. Hello, panelologists. This is Jim from Bronzeville Comics coming to you with another video. And before we get started, please like, comment, and subscribe. Check out the description of the video for links to my eBay store, email, whatnot, Instagram. So all that good stuff. So we're here every week. I do a breakdown of the Cover Price Top 10 list. Cover Price is an independent third-party comic book pricing service that aggregates data from the internet, different sources, and comes up with values for not only graded books, but raw books as well. And they also produce certain lists throughout the week, this being the list of the 10 books that are moving most in the aftermarket. So let's just jump into the list. And coming in at number 10 on the list is Assorted Crisis Events, number 1 from Image Comics. The Mike Del Mundo 1 in 25 cover, which is selling for about ratio cost. I'm not sure what to make of this book. I don't think I picked that up. It came out last week. This is a breath of fresh air from the long line of Invincible Comics training this week. This little anthology series was just released this past week. The series covers one-shot stories set in a universe where time is being disrupted. Random moments, creatures, or people from different eras are just randomly plopped into everyday scenarios. The issue debuted to rave reviews and all-around positive reception. It makes sense that the rare retailer exclusive is trending, especially since this book has already been sent back for a second print run. So yeah, you might want to pick it up. Sounds like could be a fun read. Check it out. Even if cover A is still available at your LCS. Let's look at number 9 on the list, and it is Invincible 61. This is the first appearance of Conquest. Now, I'm not going to give a spoiler warning because I'm going to skip all this stuff, this Invincible stuff, because I haven't watched it yet. Don't want to spoil it for myself. Let's just look at the values. This book is selling for well over $100, $450 last sale on a 9.8. Let's take a look at the 9.8s. There are 202 on the census. 62 of them are 9.8s, the blue labels. There are another 28 signature series. And this is kind of indicative, right? This is a book, didn't do much. The boom helped it a little bit. And then maybe the announcement of a season bumped this up to $485. And then it went back down to $160, and then lately sales solidly in the 400 plus range. This is an interesting thing I'm seeing now, the venue, eBay, and the name of the seller. So that's kind of interesting. A little more information from Go Collect. And I'm going to skip the description. I'm just going to go to number 8 on the list, and it is Invincible number 51. This Jim Lee cover, selling for about $50. Last sale of $220 and a 9.8. And there are only 40 copies on the census, Universal, and 20 signature series. Half of them are 9.8s, half of them are not. And signature series makes sense. Jim Lee does do some signings. This book, maybe just because of the Jim Lee popularity, kind of jumped last year, maintained that actually down a little bit, but has been solidly, although not consistently, selling at the $200+ price point. Again, I'm not going to talk about it. Let's go to number 7, and it is Invincible number 26. No key significance according to Cover Price. A $25 book, last sale of $175 and a 9.8. This has 112 copies on the census. 60% of them are 9.8s. And we can see it's been all, up and down and up and down. And pretty solidly going in around the $200 range in the last week. Again, I haven't watched Invincible yet. I'm going to kind of go over here to my top 10 list. And we're going to go 9, 8, 7. We're up to 7. Let's go to number 6. And it is Starship Troopers #1 from Dark Horse, a movie adaptation in 1997. High grade copies going for about $25, $30 and $139 for a recent 9.8. Not a lot of 9.8s on the census, only 14 universal copies, 8 of those 9.8s, but the prices dropped from 2023 to 20, only 3 sales recorded. They did announce that there's going to be another a movie reboot. This is kind of I guess you would call it a cult classic because it wasn't a good movie, at least in my opinion, which I think it was kind of a universal opinion, if I remember correctly. Did it win like Golden Raspberries? Released facing critical backlash, with viewers interpreting the film as endorsing fascism. Okay. Filming, post-production, music, release, marketing, box office reception, critical response, generally negative reviews, yada, yada, yada. Accolades, Golden Satellite Awards, nominated for Best Visual Effects, nominated for Worst Picture at the Stinkers Bad Movie Awards, losing to Batman and Robin. So it wasn't anywhere near the worst movie of the year in 1997 with Batman and Robin coming out. I didn't care for it. I didn't think it was Batman and Robin bad, but that's a really high bar to look at. Anyway, cult classic. Starship Troopers was this is their words, not mine, great 90s film. It was a 90s film. It encompassed much of the campiness of that era, while not appreciated during its time. The movie held its own and was nominated for a few awards: Best Motion Picture and Best Visual Effects. Motion picture and some weird thing. It wasn't nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars, that's for sure. Fast forward to today, and the film is getting a fresh reboot from filmmaker Neil Blomkamp of District 7. Sony, the studio behind the production, has promised to heavily reference the original 1959 book Troopers for material. So I think it was a 2-issue miniseries. Be careful because there's not a lot of 9/8s. If you see it in the back issue bin, probably be worth grabbing. Let's go to number 5 on the list. And number 5 is Invincible number 60. Completing this issue, The Invincible War. I'm going to guess. I mean, it looks like, wow. Spawn and Savage Dragon and Madman and I guess a lot of other, that's what, what's the name of that character? Yeah. I don't remember. I'm not a big Image guy. Any rate, that's the guy from something. A lot of Image characters in this big crossover. Again, I haven't watched the TV series, so I don't know. Near mint copies going for over $100. A 9/8 just sold for $345. Look at it's like a $70 book, and then jumps into a $150 book, and then boom, up to $240, and then boom, up to $345, $360. Again, in the last week, these Invincible books have been going crazy. This is not the time to buy Invincible books. This has 113 copies on the census, 76 9/8. I guess the anniversary aspect. The problem is it's a gatefold cover. So even though when you encapsulate a book on the front and back, I don't think you're going to get the entire image, right? Because there's images that are folded into the inside front and back covers. So we'll just move on. And we'll talk about something. Absolute Batman number 4. This is the Gabriel Hernandez Walta and Frank Martin's second print, 1 in 25, which reprints the origin of Absolute Batman, going for about $60. And again, Invincible, blah, blah, blah. Absolute Batman is still a hit with fans. This issue was originally released back in January. However, the second print just hit the stands last week. Fans who had missed out on the issue had an opportunity to secure this copy. More importantly, the release also came with a 1 in 25 retailer incentive that fans are scooping up. Although order numbers are nearly impossible to tell, this book has enough of a following that it might be difficult to secure in the wild, which is why fans have turned to the aftermarket for a copy of the Dark Knight's new series. Absolute Batman is hot. We did get Absolute Batman on the list. No Ultimate, no Spears, but we do have Absolute Batman. Let's go to number 3 on the list, and it's Invincible Returns, number 1. This is from 2010, the first appearance of Thrag. Again, going for, people are just throwing money at Invincible. Not dissimilar to Walking Dead at the height of its popularity, about $200 for a 9.8. And if we take a look at this, there are 180 copies on the census, 110 9.8s. One went, I mean, Comic Boom for $632. It's not that crazy, going for about 200 and change right now. So yeah, that's interesting. I'm not going to go into the why. Let's go to number 2 on the list, and it's Sister Imperator, number 1, from the world of Ghosts. That's kind of interesting. This is cover A, which came out 2 weeks ago. It made the list last week. It's going for about $15. This book has moved up from the number 6 spot last week. The band Ghost, not the Dark Horse series from like the 90s, has built an extensive list of characters and lore behind their band. Each album is a new chapter in their characters' origins and, yes, even death. Spoiler alert. I'm not going to necessarily read this, at least at any point soon. Spoiler alert, so fast forward about 10 or 20 seconds. Sister Imperator has already met her demise at the end of Ghost's concert film Right Here, Right Now last year. Though she is still present as a spirit like other band members, the book explores the origins of Sister Imperator and how she became the woman we see in the film. Fans of the Grammy-winning heavy metal band have flocked to the aftermarket to secure their copy of the character's origin. I'm not a heavy metal guy, so yeah, this isn't really something that interests me. Let's see what's number 1 on the list is, and it's not Invincible. It's Impact Winter number 1, which just came out. It came out in 2022, but when I looked last week, there was no census data. Let's see if there's anything that's popped. Still no census data. And it stays at number 1. 2 weeks ago, it was announced that Netflix acquired the rights to the popular Audible podcast Impact Winter. The project secured Francis Lawrence as a director, known for I Am Legend and 4 Hunger Games movies. They also secured writer Travis Beacham, who co-wrote Pacific Rim and Clash of the Titans. It's also worth noting that Travis co-created Impact Winter. The adaptation is set to be a series and is based primarily off the podcast. However, this book is a one-shot prequel to the podcast series, and comic fans have targeted for their collection. Kind of interesting. A different niche in the pop culture. We've been influenced by video games, by music albums, and here by a podcast. So that's a little bit interesting. So again, this is I imagine it's out there, but yeah, and none of them slabbed. Let's take a look at the runners up on the list, numbers 11 through 20. At 11 is Secret Wars number 10, this great Mike Zeck cover of Dr. Doom. The anticipation of Robert Downey Jr. playing Dr. Doom, driving this. Invincible 65 at number 12, 72 at number 13. Punisher number 13. New York says no to the Punisher, which is kind of what's going on in the Daredevil series, this Kingpin versus Vigilante situation. X-Force 116, which was the top of the top 10 list with the first appearance of Dupe, who's maybe in some possible real marketing Young Avengers, the MCU thing. But we'll see. Still, it's the first appearance of X-Force, is it not? And then number 16 is Spider-Man's Amazing Friends number 1. This is the first appearance of Firestar. Sadie Sink, recently cast in Spider-Man 4 in an unknown role. So people are looking at any redhead that has a connection to Spider-Man, and there's Firestar. She did later make her first appearance in continuity in an X-Men book. I can't remember. It's like 194 or something like that. Number 7 is Alias number 1. This one's a bit of a deep cut, so follow closely. Sadie Sink, the Stranger Things fame, was recently casting the upcoming Spider-Man 4 in an unknown role. Most immediately think of Mary Jane Watson, but we've already seen many iterations. Cue to this deep cut, a book that features the first appearance of Firestar. Technically, she first appeared in Spider-Man and Amazing Friends, which is an adaptation of this book. Some fans have pivoted toward this book as a fresh character to bring the MCU after Johnny Storm is introduced. She also did time with the X-Men, considering she's a mutant. It's early to begin theorizing, but their fans are often picking up the book should the above play out. Now, wait a minute. Now I have to go to Key Collector, which isn't the most accurate source of information all the time, But let's see. Firestar was in Alias 1. That I wasn't aware of that. All right. We got Spider-Man's Amazing Friends, X-Men 193. I was off by one. And then she was a member of the New Warriors. She had her own book. I don't know why is it Alias 1 is, I think that does, I'm confused. If you know in the comments, leave it below. It's first appearance of Jessica Jones is Alias 1. I'm a little bit confuzzled by this. A book that features the first appearance of Firestar. What? No, I think this might be mislabeled, to be honest. I think they're looking at X-Men 193. Although, no. I don't know. Let me know if you have any information that is better than what I'm going with in my brain. Number 18, Spectacular Spider-Man number 9, the first appearance in comics of White Tiger. Although his first appearance was in a magazine, Deadly Hands of Kung Fu number 19. Daredevil 183. This is the first meeting, actually the second part of the first meeting of Daredevil and Punisher. And number 20, why not, Spawn 1. So that's going to wrap up our top 10 list. Invincible heavy. I have to catch up on the show. Maybe I'll know more by next week, but I think the season's over, so I don't know what's going to happen on next week's list. Let me know why Alias 1 made the list. That is confusing me. At any rate, thank you all for stopping by. I appreciate it. You can watch a couple of my other videos here, and this is Jim saying until next time, enjoy your comics.